Alrighty. Shall we start, or do you need you got your coffee?
No, you can start. I don't drink coffee. You start. Yeah.
All right. So, Voobly Balance Patch released November question. So we don't actually have a release date yet, or is there a release date set?
It's when it's ready, which should be within a couple days.
Oh,
But then once it's released, then it has to go through the approval on like the Voobly admin side. So like before you could use it for rated games, it would take a couple more days.
okay, that's fine. I guess the first question that I know most people would be interested in, is there any plans to have a 4.1 patch at any point through the year, or is it just this is what we get for the year kind of thing?
It's what you get for now. They're kind of the thinking behind it is that we've got this tournament that will be starting in about eh, a month or so. So after like a month, kind of do like a 1 month analysis, and like if it's apparent that there's some issues, then we can change it then.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, we are gonna, like you said, we're gonna have a huge tournament, so everyone's gonna be trying to find the most broken way to play the game. And if the patch does something, or there's something you've missed, then a patch after the tournament, or well, at least talking about a patch after the tournament might be a possibility. Would you say?
If possibly.
Yeah.
It's
I
you
just
never know.
wanna, yeah, I just wanna be like, guys, calm. It's not the end of the world. If you hate one change, it might not be there in a couple of months. You just calm your tits, and we'll be all right. All right, let's go through the old thing. I see the first thing is very very exciting. I changed the main menu. This is what the community. This is what the community's been after for years. We can no longer be stuck in the campaign menu. My God.
You know what? As long as we have that change in there, the rest of it can suck, and it's still awesome.
Yeah, so good. Main menu, blah blah. Where you can see all the displays correct. Okay, so you're just changing the text in the thing. This menu's been bugged since 2003.
Yeah, that's like the when you go in the end game in the tech tree and check
Yeah,
the values and stuff. That never was even accurate with like the original game. And obviously, as the patch changed things and we never updated the tech tree, that became like horribly inaccurate.
that's awesome. Nice one, patch team.
Again, he had get that in there, and you can have anything else. At least we got that.
All right. Map changes. For the medium and far gold mines on all maps, gold mines can no longer spawn quite so close. Second and third town centers, minimum avoidance range increased approximately 1 to 2 storehouse widths. Okay, so does that mean that there's no chance at a safe second gold mine next to a town center? Is that the kind of vibe
Well,
we're
I
going
mean,
for?
it depends on what you think is safe. I mean,
Sure.
they can still spawn within like 6 storehouse widths, which isn't really super far, but like 6 to 7 storehouse widths, which
Yeah.
that's not, it's still pretty close, but not quite.
I guess
When you're talking,
yeah.
a couple storehouse isn't gonna like completely change anything, but just make it not quite so where you're, quite so easy to just get a second town center. Now you got safe gold. The intent of this was kind of a little bit towards set
Mm,
because that's what set does is the aggressive shift and then a town center grab and then the free hunt right next to the town center and then the gold right next to the town center and then you can never push back and that kind of
yeah.
becomes a no-win scenario. But it's not like it's going to completely change
Yeah.
anything. It
Well, I mean,
just a little bit of a
yeah.
nudge.
I mean, I look at it as well, just from seeing it initially, I look at it and it looks like it's just more of a push towards aggressive one town center play. If somebody decides to go two town centers, you can't just rely on the fact you have town center fire protecting a gold mine, which I think is awesome. So you have to actually think about what you're doing a little bit more and actually scout the map, which is in general good. Making people have to actually think instead of following their own set build order is a positive for me. Yes, starting gold mines. Next thing. All maps except Anatolia, Frozen Weights, and Ghost Lake, the maximum spawn range from town center is decreased very slightly. Starting maps can no longer spawn quite so far away from the town center. Okay, so it's like super, super tiny, and it's just like you're not going to get so gold screwed. And like,
Right.
Yeah.
A little bit of the technicalities. So in my mind, I always thought that, so you get like a certain range that a unit or, well, a mine would spawn from your town center. I always thought it was circular. So like say it's 25 distance, it's a circular 25 distance. It's actually not circular. It's actually square.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you could actually you can get 25 away, in one straight direct line, and that's not too bad. But when you get it right in that corner where it's 25 diagonal, that's pretty far.
Yeah.
So this is just, for those gods that are, a little bit weak early and they face like an early aggressive god. It's to help them not quite, have that gold mine where it's like, well, dang it, I got a forward gold mine. It's not protected by anything. This is pretty much over right away.
Really,
but it's a little nudge. Again, not a huge change. Just a little nudge.
I mean, I could be wrong about the math or whatever, but surely 25 diagonal is the same as 25 straight. No?
No, it's actually not. It's
like if the box goes around like your town center, from the very center of your town center, then you have your rectangle or square or whatever it is, then the point to the middle is the same every way, no? Or is that I haven't done that.
No. No, math is your friend here. The in the square, the corners are farther than just the sides.
Okay. Everyone can laugh at me now. That's fine. Cool. Nile Delta has been introduced back into the rated map pool. It's a little bit different. Fish no longer spawning quite close to the shore. Okay, so it's going to be a while for it to be out, but it's just like we get another water map, which is nice.
Yeah, it needs a little.
Yeah.
It needs a little help yet, and it's not quite ready yet. So, but we didn't want to delay. This thing has already been delayed for a while, so the map can be added in whenever without any issues. So we'll add it in later.
Okay. Zupi, you're totally right. Draw a circle inside a square. That's very obvious. I'm stupid. Okay. Cool. I'm excited. I like water maps. Anything that's interesting is good, so long as it's not abusive, I guess, in any sort of way. Like someone might figure out a way to just play the map and it not be fun for another player. So hopefully that's not the case with this one, but we'll see. Can always remove the map. The community seems to be very good at rejecting what they don't like in maps. Hey.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the exciting part of the changes, balance changes. Okay, saw a slight buff to Poseidon with the Hippolyta. That's their classical hero. Attack animation length reduced. Does that mean that is that just like a quality of life change, or does that actually make Hippolyta attack faster?
It actually makes this. You look at it, it actually seems kind of a what change. This is actually pretty important. She fires faster now instead of 2 seconds, 1.5. So half a second faster, but it's actually pretty big for archers with how accuracy works. And I forget the exact numbers. I think Ippert's in the chat could probably, help me out. But like the first shot from any ranged unit at like max range is typically around 60%. And then accuracy gets better with each subsequent shot. To the third shot, then it's generally 100% accuracy. So that's why like Odysseus is so much better than Hippolyta, is because Odysseus shoots in 1.1 seconds. And so by 3 seconds, as long as he doesn't move, he's at full accuracy. Whereas Hippolyta, it takes her all the way up to 6 seconds before she gets
Okay.
full accuracy.
Yeah, I guess we always wondered why Hippolyta was so bad. What's I mean, if Ipit's in the chat or what's Odysseus's attacks animation or whatever it is?
I think I'm not sure. It's 1.1.
Okay, so it's just like Hippolyta was just flat out worse.
Yes,
So it's just like this, yeah. Okay.
almost twice.
Okay, that's
Almost
fair.
twice as slow.
I always found when I played Poseidon that Hippolyta felt like a little bit less good, like for whatever reason.
That's why.
Yeah.
It's because of those super long fire rate,
Yeah.
and then every time that Hippolyta would move or would be retasked to a new unit, the accuracy would reset.
Yep.
And that's the same for every Odysseus is 1.2. Okay.
All right. So Hephaestus, Colossus, just getting a bit of a buff back to what they used to be seems fairly minor.
Yeah, every patch at this point, we're trying to revert some old changes just to kind of get rid of some of the trash, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, this god like used to just be the only god you would pick, right? And now it feels like you don't want to pick him. At least that's what it feels like. So it's good to try and nudge the people that are picking him and not have them punished too hard for it. All right, so let's move on to this one. This one seems interesting. Thor, the Dwarven Foundry gets what is the extra percent? It looks like an extra couple of percentage points of.
Yeah, it's not really any straight percentage. You could kind of tell when ES made it, they kind of just picked kind of arbitrary numbers because the percentage on base could vary from like a 15% discount to 40% depending on which age.
Okay, so it just looks like awfully cheap. I mean, well, yeah. What's the why is Thor? I mean, Thor's obviously was not a top tier god, so I guess we're pushing that way. But what's the thought process behind the change?
Well, that's a good question. So whenever you have the patch team, everybody individually has different ideas of what needs to be changed. And then even if people agree and be like, Thor needs help, then you get all sorts of different ideas. Well, how do we help Thor? And then eventually you have to choose one thing. And this was kind of the thing that everybody was kind of okay with. Like, well, maybe I prefer this, but we can do this. So obviously Thor needs help. And the idea was to boost something that Thor already had, which was the armory, and then make it a good amount cheaper. Like we felt like early game, even with the discounts, it was still a little bit hard to get them. And then late game, it was just like, I mean, how often would you even see Thor late game in like, especially a 1v1 where he's even able to access like his third line of upgrades, which he has to pay 1,000 resources for each one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a little bit of an early game buff and a little bit heavier of more of a later game buff to actually allow Thor normally to get access to these beyond or before like the 25, 30 minutes.
Cool. I mean, I'm interested in what it's going to do. So hopefully.
Yeah, this is a hard one. On paper, you can pick numbers and hope they work okay. This is something that's going to take some time in game to see, is it okay? Is it too much? Does it do nothing? I think it would maybe be more towards the too much side, but we'll see. Like I said, if it appears to be a problem, we can adjust it.
Cool. So, just to clarify, it looks like the bronze weapon, the bronze tier was not touched, right?
Right. Those were actually already pretty heavily discounted as far as percentage wise.
Yeah. They did feel very cheap. Always have felt very cheap, which is why you always see like bronze upgraded Ragnarok heroes, and never iron upgraded or like special upgraded Rag Heroes, right?
Yeah, that's the one fear, is that it'll bring back the kind of the Thor flaming weapons rag, which is a bit of.
Well, yeah,
We'll
I
see.
mean, but even then, like you're still. It's not like you're not spending resources on them. It's like iron weapons is what 100 resources cheaper, which
Right.
isn't insignificant, but it's still you're spending 900 resources there. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think that's a bad change. Like honestly, I'm interested in it. Okay, let's go on. Freya Thundering Hooves. Food cost reduced from 300 to 250. That's the special tech that makes, excuse the guy who has a really big penis driving his motorbike outside my house. So this is the special tech that gives extra attack and speed to cavalry. For those who do not know, just simply a buff. Looks like 300 food was awfully expensive. I definitely didn't find myself wanting to purchase this upgrade. So it seems like a good, almost a good amount now, if not a good amount.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, cool. Walking wood trees no longer require population. Okay.
More of a kind of a thematic thing. Originally they were given population when they were made controllable like a couple years ago, and that was because we thought it'd be OP, and eventually we changed it all the way down to one pop space, and now they're the only myth unit that costs pop. So it kind of goes against the entire game design a little bit. So. And it's not overpowered anyway, so might as well just get rid of that. It's kind of a weird,
it's like
a weird thing.
How many walking woods trees do you get?
6.
Yeah, so you lose out on like 3 units as Norse if you use walking woods. Which is fine. It's good. We don't care. Yor needs some love anyways. He's a fun god. Egyptian. Okay, this is a good change. I can already see it. Someone Ipit spoiled it for me in the chat, which is fine. But Axeman's pierce armor reduced from 15% to 5%. I don't know why this buff went through in the first place, but Axemen are so strong, so that's good.
Yeah, it was kind of an ill-guided attempt to make classical fight more. From like a couple years ago, make classical fight more of a potential strategy for Egyptians, but kind of when you're thinking about the game design as itself, that's really not the point of Egyptian anyway. So it didn't change anything other than just it ended up being an unnecessary buff for Axemen. So might as well get rid of it. They didn't need it in the first place.
Yeah, it's like Axemen had their purpose, killing infantry units, and then if they weren't fighting infantry units, they should die. So that's okay. All right, sets. Here we go. The food amount that is available from converted animals is reduced from 75% to 60% of their non-converted value. Okay, this doesn't affect Pharaoh and temple spawned animals. Okay, so that's straight up a nerf to stealing animals, converting any animals that you want to eat.
Yes, and it kind of, you might as well kind of include I think the other set changes are right next to each other too.
Oh, okay, previous food buff for gazelle plus 25, and giraffe plus 50, and hippopotamus plus 75. Offset. Oh, so in an older patch, the food was given an increase on those animals?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just making them back to normal, or what they were in.
Back to normal, and they aren't affected by that additional 15% nerf. So they're back to what they originally were at the beginning of time.
Like, yeah, I mean, I play Nilla and I play 1.10, and I've never been like, man, set animals, they could really use more food. It's like, no, I'm just like stoked that I get extra food. Yeah, that's cool. All right, let's look at this one. This is what we're all being excited about. Shifting Sands nerfs. Shifting Sands potential to shift enemy units reduced from 800 to 600 HP. So we're just dwindling that stealing an army potential, which is great because when you think about, I mean, I'll just explain why I think that Shifting Sands is broken in terms of stealing units. If you think about Heroic Age God Power like Curse, the amount of HP that it does, and then you go into like Shifting Sands, which is a Classical Age God Power, should definitely be worse at killing off units. And I know you don't think about them as all dead, but you spend like 100 gold in walls, and they are all dead. So that's good. I guess you agree with that?
Yeah, that's kind of before it used to be at one point in the patch was 400 hit points, which that was seemed a bit underwhelming. So we kind of did that magical medium at this point where we'll do 600 and see how it goes.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's kind of what this is all about. It's hard to test a balance patch and like know what you're doing straight away. So. Shifting Sands can no longer shift animals of set or sets converted animals. Okay, I see that this is a nerf to... I actually think this is a good change. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I like it because one of the biggest issues with the early set shift onto villages was the animals blocking or path blocking your villages, so you couldn't run away and you'd lose like an extra villager or two that you wouldn't have normally if the animals weren't there. So I guess that's where that was going, no?
Right, yeah. And again, when you say it wasn't exactly what you had an idea, really, the set changes, obviously that was kind of a focus of this patch. And in the end, the set changes were, I don't think they ended up being anybody's idea because everybody had different ideas as far as what to change. And that's kind of the one downside of having, a team is that everybody has different ideas. And in the end result is often nobody's idea. And it's kind of like a compromise that nobody's exactly happy about. And you hope it works okay. So we'll see. I think the set changes as a whole will end up being enough. There's nothing like super, none of the changes in and of themselves are like huge changes, but altogether, I think it's going to be a decently nerfed, but not to the point where set's useless. Like we'll see. This is one that we're gonna take. It'll take a lot of looking at to see exactly how it works, but I think the 3 to 4 changes will be in a good spot. But
I mean,
on
like
paper and
yeah, I think
you
my
never know
argument,
when you consider.
yeah, sorry. My argument for Set was that early attack that Set had the potential to do was not like it like didn't make Set. It like just put Set in front, whereas opposed to like I don't know, anything else in the game, it's like their stuff is balanced and you have to like actually outplay your opponent to do something. Whereas with this strategy, which like certain set players were using, felt like they could just do it, and maybe like one game out of 10 it would not work and they would be punished for it. But for the majority of time, it was just too easy to do. So
right, it's just doing the same thing every time, and okay.
I mean, I think this is potentially like it might potentially be enough. Like I don't know, we'll see. Cool. Let's go on. Chronos. Cost to time shift towers palace is reduced to 100 wood, 75 gold, down from 200 wood, 100 gold, and they time shift faster. So this, okay, we'll explain that one then.
So if you were to go down, there are some nerfs that affect Chronos in other areas, and so Chronos kind of without these changes would be a little bit weaker this patch, and it's not like Chronos is already super strong. So what this does is late game, it allows Chronos to do a little bit more of back shift stuff. Like it no longer costs, what is it, 200-300, like 800 resources to shift a fortress to the back lines. Now it's a little bit cheaper to shift it back there. And then early game helps. The 15% faster is generally a couple seconds for each building. It helps you to get just that aggression out a little bit faster early on.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely an interesting concept given that, like, we've only seen Uranus and for a long time, and Uranus tends to fall off pretty heavily in the late game. So this is kind of like, well, Kronos is there, and Kronos maybe going to be able to have more of a fun time in that late game. So that's
right, because it works well in late game. It's just so expensive, and we all know Atlantean economy late game is worse than other civs. So you're spending, an extra 300 resources just to move a fortress. It just wasn't very practical as far as resource count.
Seems good to me. Prometheus nerf incoming, which is good to see. Valor's recharge time increased to 150 seconds. Seems like just like a little nudge at Uranus being, well, I guess Prometheus being a little bit too strong.
Yeah, just to slow down the quick, I guess, access to all those heroes. You get 3 heroes right away. 2 minutes later, you get 3 more. Plus, don't forget the Heroville is actually also a decent early game boost for free. I mean, it gathers 10% faster. It builds, I think, about 10% faster as well. So it's just kind of a little nudge.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's good.
Now my son is here with his elephant, stuffed elephant.
Say good day.
Trumpeting at me.
I mean, it's fine. Let's look at Oceanus. This is looking like something that is very interesting, given Bite of the Shark now gives Hero Mamilo 150% damage bonus versus myth units. Hero Mamilo, okay, and Weightless Mace now gives extra bonus damage versus myth units. What's the how is
it's to help mainly for Gaia, is to help Gaia with that. And I'm actually, but anyway, I just noticed something. So yeah, it's just to help Gaia out a little bit, and like especially against like Zeus, if you're facing the Hippocon Centaur thing, you can now kind of maybe go just Cataspeltes, and with the extra damage, they could kill both, the Hippocon and the Centaur. We'll see. This might be a bit of an underwhelming change, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, Oceanus is one of those funny gods, right? Because like, it's actually a really strong god on water, right? So
yeah, it's pretty good.
It sort of like sits in that realm of like, you can, I mean, obviously Prometheus is just straight up better because you get access to units that can kill docks straight away, which is like an attacking land unit. But for Gaia, who doesn't have that, like Oceanus is just simply the god you pick on water. So, I mean,
right.
Yeah,
it's to help a little bit. There's also, I'm actually looking at the patch change here. There is a change we're missing that will be put on there is for Leto, the automaton will get an additional ×2 bonus damage versus myth units.
Oh, okay, so that's like on the EE patch, right? I think I read that.
I don't know if that's on the EE patch or not.
Not sure.
But yeah, so that'll be like the Gaia's Leto boost to help Gaia with myth units through Leto will be the additional ×2 against myth units.
No worries. Okay, seems fine. So this is something that a lot of people have been complaining about, Hyperion. So let's talk about this. Looks like Chaos being like nerfed by 33% is good. There's not really any reason to defend that. We all know that Chaos is a little bit too strong. Hyperion with the Satyr's hit points from 400 down to 320, which making them more killable. And the training time increased is pretty large, but not completely undoing the buff. Okay, so it's just like the Satyrs are almost going back to normal. What was their hit points when they were crap?
I don't think the hit points have ever changed. It's always been that.
Yeah, okay.
And again, this is, the patch kind of had the two main things, was Set and then Hyperion. Again, Hyperion, we had so many different ideas of how do you nerf Hyperion, and nobody agreed. So this is again kind of like a middle of the line compromise between everything. And I don't think, kind of like Set, I don't think anybody is perfectly happy with the assortment of changes, but I think it'll work. There's the Satyrs will still be, they'll still have good attack, but they'll be a little bit more vulnerable, and also a little bit longer to get out because of that training time. And then
that's actually pretty big.
You also have the chaos, the charges. So the problem with chaos is without a myth unit conversion, it's just kind of average god power. With the myth unit conversion, it becomes strong. And it's not like you can convert half a myth unit. So it's kind of like it's either bad or it's good. So we just went with returning it back to the original two charges.
I don't know if this was if it came up in the discussion, but I think someone said something about. Well, I think I might have. Can't remember if it was me or someone else. Like said something about making it a 1-use god power. And just making it actually strong.
Yeah, we wouldn't do that because I don't think, other than Implode, I think pretty much everything for Atlantean is kind of that multi-use.
The mythic, the two
it's kind of
things, yeah.
It's kind of their design in a way, is that multi-use recharge time kind of a thing.
Yeah, of course. All right. Rhea Behemoth increase, showing some love there. That regeneration of 2 HP is actually pretty significant, it looks like.
Yeah, as long as they don't die right away, you'll get value out of that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I think this will be pretty good for the Behemoth. I mean, you just compared stats from it to the Scarab, and it was obviously a little bit worse, even though it's pretty much the same unit. So it's kind of, they're still pretty close in stats, but still a little bit different, so that they aren't the exact unit. And then I think with that regen, it'll help.
Okay, feels good, man. Is there anything else worth?
Yeah, there in the fixes. There are still balance changes in these, like the lower fixes and stuff.
All right. Let's look at the bugging consistency error fixes. Units with lightning attack will no longer sometimes. Oh yes, that's sick. That's such a good. Oh my god, yes. My son of a size isn't gonna die when I'm trying to make him do things.
Yeah, I think you skipped a section. Things that the previous patch got wrong.
Oh, okay. Alright. The boiling oil attack tower now does 50%. So are these changes?
These are changes. These are changes that were intended or not intended originally.
Okay.
So these are fixes of previous fails that I did in previous patches.
I see. So this should be labeled ChronoJJ's fuck ups. Great.
Right.
Right.
Pretty much.
Reduce damage versus what's that? The unique Poseidon unit.
Yeah.
I can't even say it. I'm not going to try. I guess that's just that would have been something you don't actually see that. Nobody buys boiling oil. We know it's bad technology.
Right. And some of these won't be super big, but they're to be consistent, they needed to be corrected.
Okay, maximum sensible spawn range increased to 27. Prevent sentinels on spawning due to gold mine placement in combination with the map. Okay, so you're just following the map change there.
Yeah. So
That's
what
cool.
this actually doesn't mean that by base they're further out. They actually have a maximum range initially,
Mm.
but then they kind of have that kind of buffer zone where if something's on top of
Oh, I
that
see.
original placement, they can get pushed further out. So they'll still spawn at the same distance away unless it's blocked, and then they can move a little bit
So,
further
so
out.
if you're really like, if you're a Hades man out there, the optimal Sentinel way to play is to put like a building, build like a house or something, but like just one HP, like tap on it, build those all around, and then you can be able to put your Hades Sentinels further away. No.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Oh, good. The Argo is no longer affected twice by armory upgrades.
That'll
That's
change the game.
nice. That's a big one. I didn't even know that was a thing, but thanks, Ipit. um, ISIS monuments HP increased to 25%. Unintentionally nerfed. Okay.
And this was nerfed like 3 years ago, and nobody even knew about it until like 3 months ago.
Nice.
3 months ago, somebody's like, "Wait a minute, why is this in there?" Like, nobody knows.
Yeah, cool. Uh, ISIS is back to being top tier again. Atlantean, the
Right.
cost of heroizing citizens is being increased. This was lowered in the previous patch, and when the reduction of heroizing was later. Oh, okay. Well, Atlantean players will cry now because they already think that their hero citizens are too expensive.
Yeah, well, they weren't even supposed to be that cheap.
Yeah.
So,
Hero citizens damage versus siege increased to compensate for an earlier patch failure. The damage was accidentally nerfed by 67%, so 50%. Oh, nice. So is that like just back to what they should have been then? I don't know how percentages.
well, it's what they should have been with the previous patch change.
Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
it's a fix of something I screwed up.
Okay. Oracle Scouts can once again escape Frost God power by heroizing. All other Atlantean units can do this. That's weird. That's it. Yeah. Get your counters to Frost out. You just bank resources. I didn't even know about that. Cool. Oracle Scouts being reduced by 10%. They now have the same movement speed again as when playing Gaia and Cronus. Okay. Volcanic Forge.
Yeah, that was something.
Sorry, go on.
That was something that was unintentionally added a long time ago that nobody again quite ever realized until recently.
Hmm. Okay, I understand it. All right. Leader of Volcanic Forge's research time reduced from 40 seconds to 30 seconds. What's that? I don't even know what that technology is.
It's one of the special. It's one of the special ones in the temple through Leto. It was supposed to be 30 seconds, and then when I fixed it, like because I had some issues with the patch, I accidentally reverted it back to 40 seconds, so it never got that boost that it was supposed to get. Which again these aren't like game changing changes here. It's just to correct
just
problems.
Things up. Oh.
Yeah.
And then the hecker. I can never. I don't know how you're supposed to say this. Is it Gigantes or Gigantes, whatever it is.
Who knows?
Just back up to 45% because
I put it at 44 instead of 45.
You're just hating on everybody. You can get your you can put your torches away. ChronoJJ has buffed Atlantean yet again. All right. Bug and consistency errors. The Son of Osiris can now move. Feels good. What was causing that? Out of interest.
You'd have to ask Skipper. There was something in just some of the unit codes. I guess all you had to do was just change a number in a unit code, and it would no longer bug out. So how exactly, like behind the scenes, it works, but apparently it does. So why? I don't know, but it does.
Cool. Alright, docs are now able to attack. Oh, as if. Actually, that's actually a buff for Poseidon, right? If you think about it.
You can tank Dockfire with your Hippocampus now.
Yeah, you send the Hippocampus in first, and then your newbie opponent doesn't realize he's attacking Hippocampus. It's just running around dodging the arrows, and it's good. Alright, all the Titans now have the same animation length for each of their attacks. All that cumulative is equal. This affects the attacks of that Titans use when attacking units or buildings. For the change, the Norse Titan was the weakest because it took longer for the Titan to perform an attack with equal damage. Damn it, now Norse has got even more buffs. Ah, their Titan was...
It's over now.
The Age of Norse, more like. Oh well. Hades, Perseus will no longer walk to the target of his special attack after petrifying it. You will not instantly fight on, just like other units who have a similar special attack.
Go back to sleep, mommy.
Nice. Hades fixed a bug that would decrease gold income for Hades if he had researched Bolt of Erebus and then garrison the relic.
Go back to my bed, mom.
So many random changes that you just don't even realize about.
Yeah, and again, most of these won't really change much, but it's just kind of quality of life corrections, I guess you could say.
You can do Pharaoh's damage bonus versus myth units is being reduced from 700% to 400%. Regular Pharaoh also has 4%. Equalize the movement of...
Yeah, who knew?
Okay.
Who knew they were even different?
Yeah, what the hell? Well, it's at least we're nerfing Egyptian, making a step in the right direction, no?
Yeah, who knew?
This game is gonna be bug free soon, if not already bug free. Female hero Atlantean citizens have their cutting down tree animation reduced from 2 to 1 seconds. This will make them no longer cut down Gaia tree slower than male hero citizens.
Proof that men are better than women.
Dude, the patriarchy at full effect. How does that even work? Oh man.
It's just something weird in the game.
How does Ensemble Studios suck that hard? Alright. Atlantean Burning Pitch gives Hero Arcus and Hero Toma 50% bonus damage for ships, down from 150%. Oh, okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean, that's obviously what it should have been, but doesn't matter regardless. Thea Lemurian Descendants now affects Atlantean heroes. Atlas Harpies can only be stuck in an implode. Okay, Atlantis Osiris. Son of Osiris can now be sucked into the implode. Previously was immune. Will do 140 damage.
Yeah, I think he was the only land unit that couldn't get sucked in. So
good, because does it suck in Nidhogg?
Well, that's not a land unit. That's flying. I don't think. Maybe it. I don't. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
I see. So the Harpies thing was just to be the same as. That's weird. I would have thought that flying units should be sucked into it as well.
No, they don't. They are immune. Has to be on the ground, and the Osiris is the only one. But anyway, we're about to end. I gotta run.
Yeah, that's totally cool. We're finished. Thanks so much for the chat. And if you want to direct your hate mail to ChronoJJ, he's over at rtssanctuary.com.
Anywhere, many different platforms.
So, or Voobly, or wherever you feel like. So, excited.
Oh yeah, so this should be ready to go for rated play in about 5 days, 4 to 5. So and that is it for today. So have a good one.
All right, man. I'll see you later.